Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms. I'm Amanda Nova, and I am here with my friend Beth Renov. And today we're going to be talking about spiritual awakening, spiritual growth in this massive time of awakening. I mean, things have been so crazy. So how are you feeling? Are you okay?
I feel like I'm in the eye of a tornado,
We
but
are.
besides that, I'm wonderful.
We are. I think everybody is going through this insane time. The energy has just been bananas.
Yes, I feel that wholeheartely. I feel like I'm all over the place. The world's all over the place. And just even people who've commented on our stuff, feels like everybody's going through a spiritual awakening or reawakening or a spiritual growth period. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, you posted that Schumann resonance.
Yeah.
Talk about that because I couldn't even tell you or understand what it is.
So I mean, first of all, I haven't slept for 2 days, or maybe even longer. And not even in a bad way, just because I have been so filled with energy that I can't sleep. And I feel like people are responding different ways to this. So yesterday there was a huge jump that had happened overnight the night before of basically a large amount of energy coming into the Schumann resonance, which is the measuring of the frequency of Earth. So it's measuring the entire Earth. It's an average. There are these things that measure it basically. And usually the frequency is around 7.4. It had gone so crazy. It was up to 8.6, which was is actually a really big jump. So the thing is that they don't know, the people who are doing this and who analyze these graphs from a science perspective, they don't know what caused it. So it's basically a foreign energy source came in, raised the energies off the chart, changed the patterns, and just basically blew up the graph for I would say about 24 hours. It's calmed down a lot. Now it's more in a stable place. But when that happens, we as energetic beings, right? We are made of energy. That's a fact. That's scientific. That's a fact, right? So we're living on Earth. Anything that happens on the Earth energetically, even with the cycles of the moon or a storm, we feel those things in our nervous system, our neurons in our brain, all of that stuff, right? So with this happening, this huge influx of energy, what it seems like to me is that we are in a great time of awakening. We're kind of splitting off into 2 paths, 2 timelines. One is the awakened people who are remembering who they are, moving into new earth, higher consciousness, higher timelines, higher self. And then there's the people who are going to remain sleeping and meant to remain sleeping. And the people who are awakened, the ones who are listening to this, I said on my Instagram, nobody listening to this is part of the sleeping. You're awake. You're part of the awakening. So don't worry, you will not get left behind. People that are sleeping won't even realize that it's happening. But we are feeling those energetic shifts. So that can look a lot like me being really, really energized, or people being really fatigued because, so Beth is feeling the opposite. Headaches, pain.
Yep.
Because our physical body is trying to catch up with the energetic body. It can feel like opening of gifts. So for me personally, and I don't know, I'm curious how your gifts have been too. My clairvoyance has been opening out of nowhere. It's not been a gift that I've practiced with all that much. I do have some clairvoyance where I'll see things as a memory, or I'll see a metaphor. I'll see something you know, in somebody's heart, I'll be like, oh, there's like a dragon or there's a beat. Like it's like your heart pulling out of the ground. Like I'll see stuff like that, but I never like see stuff. And now that this is all happening, I'm seeing stuff. I'm seeing auras around people. I'm seeing things out of the corner of my eye. I'm seeing colors. I'm having weird ocular migraines that I can't see anything. So it's an opening of gifts, because in the new earth, where we're going, the higher timeline, we are remembering our gifts, and like those are coming, like they can't be hidden anymore. So it's crazy.
Right. I mean, I feel like mine was, hey, we're going to regress a bit and remind you of where you were. So I feel like this for me, and like something I knew was like, I know it's a spiritual growth spurt. And like kind of what you described is like growing pains, right? And I like say that to my clients too. Like when it's really emotionally painful, even manifesting as physical pain, it can be this spiritual growth. And listen, I mean, people are commenting, and I don't want to tell anybody, don't go to a doctor. It's just spiritual. We're just ascending. Like, absolutely, if it's interfering with your life, like, go get it checked out. And I mean, that's the first thing, even in therapy, like, go rule out anything medical. Like, there might be something going on. And it also might be this, you know, it can cause a little bit of disease in the body. And it's uncomfortable for a reason. Like, you don't grow in comfort. Right. So you're stepping outside your comfort zone. So I'm really uncomfortable. Yeah. I'm really irritable. Yeah. And I just listened to a Nikki Novo podcast. Like, you got me hooked. Yeah. So I listened to one from January 21st, but it like jumped out at me. And where was I going with this?
Which one was it?
This is happening.
So Nikki Novo is another spiritual teacher, yes. I would say. Like, she does readings and she does a podcast as well.
Right. But I guess I was just listening to one, and something clicked with it.
Was it when she said, I hate people? She said people like that you hate.
Oh my God,
people.
that one. Yeah.
she
was like, that's me.
She was like talking about your growth and I was thinking of you, Beth, because like she's like, there's something about where you've been and where you're going, and what is coming up is you hate people, and it's like the people you were working with to where you're going. It's like not the same people, but like you don't want to go because you're like, I hate people from the other people.
Totally. And I don't remember what about this, like, and this is part of mine, is like, I don't even remember what I'm saying, like, half the time. Like, I'm having a lot of brain fog. I'm, you know, but I feel like I just am in this place where I'm experiencing a lot of the things that I have in the past, and it's frustrating. Oh, and she was talking about frustration. And it's because, like, you're seeing other people do things. You're seeing other people have what you want to have, and you're like, I could do this better. But it's just like accepting, like, it's okay, let them do it their way. You don't have to try so hard. You have to accept like who you are, where you're at, and that you're going to do things in your own time. You don't have to work so hard for it. And I think like seeing also where I've come from and where I am now, even though I had like a week of being stuck in the past and talk about timelines, I feel like I went back to a timeline. And then as I'm listening to this podcast today, all of a sudden I saw a foot that's like on when people race, and like, you know, that little thing that their foot is on, all of a sudden it like took off. And I'm like, I'm being propelled right now. Like I am totally, but my gifts were really clouded this week. Like I had a hard time concentrating. I have like those memory like farts where you're just like, I have no idea what I'm saying right now. I don't know where I am. But,
well, it's like an arrow pulling you back to propel you forward, right? And it's so fascinating because I just had someone this morning, a girlfriend of ours that, you know, but I'll keep her anonymous. But anyway, and she was having very similar, like a lot of her old stuff, old fears, things that she thought she cleared a year ago coming up. And I've been seeing this with a lot of people. And like, even with me, like a lot of my old things have been like coming up. And so what I'm getting from that like happening is, yes, it's the pulling back to propel, but it's also to show you that you're not in the same place you were back then, right? So it's kind of like you're going to handle it differently. And right before we get to the manifestation, the thing we're calling in, right before we land, our feet down, like the foot thing I kept seeing with her too, is I was like, you need to land your feet down. Like I kept seeing a foot. I'm like, land your feet down. The thing is right before we're about to land, that's when the tests come up and the universe is like, you sure you want this? And just a reminder, like, you know, this, and this, and you're not the same person anymore. And so like, it's all purposeful, even though it puts you into that place where you're like, oh my God, like I'm back in this place. Like, none of this worked. What did it, you know, like you kind of like get really angry and frustrated.
Right. I mean, I've been so frustrated this week.
I could feel your frustration. I was like, I'm like not even going to talk to her this week because I feel like she's angry. I was like, I'm going to stay away from her because I could just feel your energy. I'm like, Beth is so pissed at the world right now. I'm just going to leave her alone.
It was like palpable. And I know I couldn't even tell you like specifically why. Like, I mean, sure, like I want to be doing this full time. And you know, what I realized is like my frustration and irritability comes when I'm not in alignment. And like, there is nothing wrong with my like therapy clients. I really like them. I just don't want to be doing it anymore, you know? And it's just like this frustration of wanting to be in a place like financially, like wanting to be able to really own this like persona that I'm creating for myself, really being who I am. And I think when I'm not in it, like I get really, really frustrated and irritable. And like I'm working really hard on exercising and trying to like do my glow up. So, you know, like I want to feel good. I want to look good. Like I'm in my 40s now. So, you know, that was a really hard thing for me. So I'm doing that. And like yesterday, I'm at the gym and some man is singing so loudly next to me and then talking on the phone for 30 minutes. And it took everything in me to not freak out on this man. And like years ago, I would have, you know, like, so even just that like simple thing, I'm like, I reacted differently. I did say something to him nicely. I'm like, there is a waiting area downstairs where you can make phone calls. Like, this is a gym. It's not yours. Other people are here. You have to be mindful of other people. He told me to put my headphones back on, and I was gripping the treadmill, and I'm like, don't freak out right now. Oh my
God, this is why I can't go to gyms anymore. Like, I cannot, like, I can't. That's so funny. And it just reminded me, like, every time in my life, like all of like the really dark times where I experienced so much frustration was always like at the end of like one of my jobs or one of the things I was doing that like didn't feel aligned. Like you remember like when I was at Applegate, I was a vegan working at a meat company. I was so ready to move into the next chapter, but I felt kind of like stuck there. And like that feeling is palpable. Like that frustration of like, I'm so close. I can taste it, but I'm still here. Yes. Why am I here? And that is such it's such a difficult place to be in. And I will say like, for me lately, like something that has been working in terms of money, and this is something I've never done before, is I've been imagining the energy of money. And I've been imagining it like a pile of money and like the color around it, like the aura around it. And then I've been stepping into that energy and matching the energy of the money. Ooh. And because all my stuff is financial stuff, as Beth knows. Like my stuff is like why, you know, like holding big amounts of money, being, you know, making money, being able to hold it. And so I've been stepping into the energy of money. And like when I tell you, like I've been rebuilding my business, I doubled my last month income this month in a week.
Oh my God.
In a week.
That's insane.
Literally, I think like I worked 3 days this week.
That's amazing.
Like, listen, it's not like $1 million, but it's a big jump. And it's because I've been holding that energy every single day. I'm doing that. And I'm just like, that's who I am. Like I'm feeling into it, and it feels like we always think that money, we talked about this before, like is masculine, but it's not. It's feminine and it's fun. And it's like this yellow, green, like sometimes it's red, which like then reminds me of like safety and like sacral and like all that stuff. But it's like really this like really light energy, and it wants to be fun. And like, and we just are the ones who make it not fun. And so like,
right.
yeah.
And I just picture like a ribbon flowing, you know, and just something I was thinking about today, like on my walk, was I'm not making money because I'm not doing the things that light me up. You know, like the podcast was the first direction, right? And like I am doing the like soul guidance. And today she was talking about like what you call yourself. And I'm like, I'm not going to pigeon myself even just to that. Like I'm a spiritual mentor. Like whatever that comes, like I don't have to do one-on-one. I want to do speaking engagements. I want to write. I want to do more videos. Like, but I have to like feel good to do that. And like, I'm stepping into that. And so like, I'm going to make money, and what attracts that is me feeling in this higher vibration, and me feeling in the higher vibration is doing the things that bring me joy. And not even just like the things to make money. Like I want to go start singing again. I want to even just being on a walk, like outside, like it is a game changer for me. And I think we all have to get back to those things. And then you start to see things go in the right direction. Like I see immediately my energy is just so different.
Yeah. And it's the whole idea of shifting the energy prior to having the thing. Everybody like, you know, lives in this space of I'll be happy when, I'll make money when I feel X, Y, and Z. When I do that, I'll feel happy. When I do that, you know, that whole thing. And it's like this idea of raising your vibration first, becoming a vibrational match to those things, like the money, you know, being in joy, being in love, being in happiness. Like those are like, you know, high vibrational feelings. Those are strong feelings, like Joe Dispenza talks about. Like being in those emotions are what brings things in. Gratitude is another one. You know, I've been doing a lot of like practices with gratitude of like, you know, if I can't feel excited or I can't feel joy, maybe I'm feeling really shitty, then like can I at least be thankful for something, right? Like so it's like getting into that like mindset, like the things you're doing are going to bring in the more things that that bring joy.
Totally. Yeah. And you know, I think that is even at the spiritual awakening point, and that's like a very different experience. I know for both of us it was like you went through a dark night of the soul. Like,
yeah, I was
it's
unwell.
like right. I was so unwell. I was so depressed. My world felt turned upside down. I just felt so lost. Like this isn't the same. Like this is just up leveling, right? So like let's say you're going to the next level of a video game. Like it gets harder towards the end. That's what like you were just talking about. Like it's like the home stretch is the up leveling. And not that you're not up leveling during a spiritual awakening, but your life is about to completely change as you know it. And you're opening up to an entire part of yourself that was pretty much shut down, you know? So like my spiritual awakening, like we talked about Annie. Annie's going to come up every single
time.
We're
going to have her on, guys. We're going to have her on soon, so you'll get to meet her.
But she just like changed my life, and she helped bring my gifts in. Like my gifts came in before, but she like helped make sense of it. She helped clear away past lives. You know, and I had to figure out, who am I? Like, who is Beth? Like, what am I doing here? Why am I even here? Why do I have these gifts? It's almost like you dumped out a puzzle and you have to start with the first piece, and like, where do I even start?
Yeah. And you know what, the word that keeps coming to me, I was watching something on Gaia this morning. I'm very into like watching my Gaia shows, and I'm watching Ancient Civilizations. And every time I watch one, it's like so aligned with like just me, and like signs everywhere. Like I watched one about gold, just crazy stuff. But anyway, they were talking about the light body and like basically ascending to this higher version energetically of yourself. And they're talking about it in terms of metamorphosis of a butterfly. And they were talking about a chrysalis, which is like when you're in the cocoon, right? Yeah. And like, that's what kept coming to mind when you were saying that, like a cocoon is dark. So like, and you're right about to be in your transformation. You're about to spread your wings. But like, you have to like understand that like that time where it feels like nothing is happening, that time where like you feel so sad, so blue, like I'm so confused about everything I believed just blew up. Because that's what that's what awakening is.
Right.
Like you realize like I will never forget when I started doing all this work and understanding all these things. I looked at my husband, Rob, and I was like, nothing is real. He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, nothing we know is real. And he was like, okay, like, are you well? I'm like, no, I'm not well. Nothing is real. Like, what's going on?
Right.
So it's like, it is a blowing up thing. And then you kind of are piecing that together to your point about the puzzle. So like that chrysalis moment, that cocoon moment is putting the pieces together so that you can spread your wings and transform.
Right. And what I keep seeing is like a Russian doll, right? So it's like there's a cocoon within like a doll. Like you open up to like as much as you could get there. Then you have the next reawakening. Then you're in the cocoon again. You have to blossom and transform. And you're going to keep doing that. So it's not just like a one-shot deal where, oh, I have this awakening and now everything's going to come to me all at once. It is like an unraveling and an unfolding, which we keep bringing up. And I just see you opening the Russian dolls till you get to like really who you are. And that might be at death, you know, and like your soul goes on to the next life. But like it is just this process that you're committing to and you're conscious of, you know, and it changes your life in that way because you realize I'm an active participant in it. It's not just happening to me.
And I think another important thing to call out like that you just reminded me of, like, you also don't have to be healing all the time. I've had so many clients who come and they're like, well, how much stuff am I going to clear? How much trauma? Am I ever going to be through this healing process? And I always say this, like, listen, you're never going to be fully healed. You're never going to be fully perfect. If you are, you're not going to be here on earth. Okay. You're going to be somewhere else in the ether, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to be here. But you don't have to be in that chrysalis. You might be in that chrysalis multiple times in your life, committing to the journey. And sometimes it can be fun and sometimes it's going to be healing. It's going to be cyclical. It's going to be a roller coaster like anything else. And just being along for the ride is understanding that being in flow, being along for the ride is that it's, you know, going to be up and down, and it's not always going to be dark, and it's not always going to be light, bright, and happy, joyful.
Right. And it's also not always going to be what you can see. Like we talked about last time, a lot of it goes on in the background. So it's like you could be healing, but you don't realize that you're doing it, you know? So it could be in your dream space. It could just be like the neural connections that you're forming, you know? It could be that meditation, whatever is going on with meditation or manifestation is happening in the spiritual realm, in the 5D, that you're just not seeing in your day-to-day life. So it's not always an act of like, I'm digging the ditch.
1000%. And it reminds me so much of when I was pregnant. I think that was like my quietest moment. I was so frustrated. I was in this portal. I knew that something was coming. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't see what it was. I was like, and that's like, I remember I was going to like a million psychic. I was like, somebody just tell me what is coming. And like the message I kept getting was like, you are doing this gigantic creation. You are literally creating life. You have to create that. Like, but it was such a quiet time, even though I was doing this like work, right? Like, I mean, I was literally creating life, but to me, I was like, my business felt so quiet and my spiritual work felt so quiet because so much was going on behind the scenes. And that like felt really hard for me. And where I landed was amazing and where I needed to be. But like that time period, that was 9 months of like losing my mind during that time.
Well, you are just such an action person, and you didn't realize that the action you had to take was patience. And it is an action, you know? But I just remember telling you over and over, like, you can't do anything because it hasn't happened yet. It's like you're going to create something new, and you have to go through pregnancy to do that. Like, I mean, birth, not pregnancy. Well,
you were like, it doesn't exist.
But like, I'm like, it doesn't exist yet. Like, and then you're like, what do I do? I'm like, nothing. Like, you have to sit. Like, you wanted to. I remember you were doing the yin yoga. You were like trying to like really just like find it, and you were searching like in an empty room, and there was just nothing there because it just there was no light yet to shine on where something like invisible was that would only appear when like a certain time happened, you know?
Right. And I remember feeling so frustrated when I saw other people moving forward with their creations. Like when I saw people launching programs or people like I was like really, really in this space of like comparison of feeling really bad about myself. Like you were just saying, like seeing people moving forward and moving through the energy.
Yeah.
And like I had to like I muted so many people on social media during that time because I just felt so shitty and I was like I can't like feel bad about myself. Like I just couldn't move forward because my role was to learn to be in flow, to be quiet, to sit with all the stuff and basically let my soul create this new soul in the world, right? Like that was really what my job was, to your point. And like now I understand that. But when you are somebody who is productive, you're a generator, right, from human design, and that's what I am. We are like, we have to create, we have to go, we have to make things happen. And when you're not making things happen, it's scary. You're like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything I'm supposed to be doing. But you are.
But it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that was the biggest lesson I think you learned.
Yeah. I have learned, I think, a lot about, being in flow, not pushing things to happen. And I think that was like the first step in learning that, learning about myself, that I am more of a divine feminine soul than I am like in the divine masculine. And like, I think so that's been now, I mean, Aria is 18 months old. Like, I feel like over the past 18 months, that's really been unfolding through Kundalini, through our work together, where I'm learning about the divine feminine, creation, the goddesses, and all that stuff. And like, really, really, my work has been changing the way that I am to be more in the divine feminine and be more in flow and allowing the awakenings to come when they come and allowing the darkness to come when it comes, and like being in that just like flow state. Because then the work comes to you, the opportunities come, the money comes, everything happens. But like, you can't force that to happen.
Right. And once you've been through it, it's not as scary because you like know what's happening and you're like, I'm not going to be like this forever. And I also know it's going to happen again. And I think it's just like, okay, this is just part of the process. And I think every time we're going to bring this up, it is a process. It's, it's cyclical. It's not linear. As much as we want to force it to be, it just isn't. So like these setbacks or what feels like setbacks, again, that arrow pulling back, it's just reminding you of where you were and where you're going and how far you've come.
And something you said earlier that I wanted to mention, because I always keep this in mind, with a video game, every single up level, there is someone to fight, right? There's a villain at the end of it, right? There's like the monster that you have to fight. So that is those things coming up to test you. That is like those monsters in our mind, our belief systems, our programming coming, to be fought to get to the next level. So if you think of it like that too, it's like, okay, there's always going to be these like shadow things coming up, but like taking the mindset of like, okay, I've done this before. I can get through this. And once I get through this, I'm going to be at the next level. I'm going to land. And then I might feel really amazing and be in flow. And then another monster is going to come up, like whack-a-mole.
Right.
But, taking that perspective of like, it's not going to just be like easy street, but it's, you can get through it.
Right. And it's just like, not to say like nothing's easy in this life, but there's a reason it's hard because it's worth it, and you're doing really tough work. You're not staying comfortable. You're not staying in a bubble. You're pushing yourself. And when you're pushing against something, like you're literally like, I just see breaking through a wall. That's never going to be easy, but it's totally worth it because then you're not boxed in. Then you can walk through and you get to decide where you go. And sometimes that's overwhelming as well. As like when you're through, you're like, wait, but which way do I go? I have all this freedom, and I have these gifts. Okay. What do I do with them? And maybe it's just learning to hone the gifts. And then you're like, wait, but I want to do it in a different way. And it's just like this journey you're on. And if you try not to control it, because I think that's the biggest thing I see is trying to control and plan. And it's like you kind of just have to take the reins, like loosen the reins and let's see where it takes you.
And let divine timing do its thing, which is really challenging. I also feel like when you're going through a spiritual awakening and that like first phase, right, where everything is opening up, it can be really overwhelming, can be really scary because nothing feels the way that it did before. You look at your relationships differently, your friendships fall away, you don't like the same things. Maybe you are realizing things that you always loved, but like, you know, we've talked about before about not being able to watch TV sometimes, like things really go through the shifts. And I want to say that something that's important about holding the energy is focusing on your nervous system and balancing your nervous system because it knocks your nervous system out of whack. So a lot of times I have clients who will come and do Kundalini activation and they raise their vibration and then they feel really anxious and really restless. And that is holding a ton of energy. But if their nervous systems aren't balanced, they can't hold on to it. So then it feels really overwhelming. So, I mean, just, you know, I think that that's why like doing meditation, doing breath work, just really trying to stay grounded and balanced. Like I tell people go outside after a session because raising your vibe and awakening is one thing, but you have to also be able to be here on earth and function.
Right. And I think what also, besides the energy, which is anxiety provoking, is like we just said, nothing is familiar, right? So your relationship with yourself isn't even familiar because you sometimes don't even recognize yourself. I feel so differently. I'm thinking in a different way. I'm operating in a different way. And it's just like you have to like get to know yourself again. And that is so unfamiliar. And our brain can register that as danger. And it's not, but safety often is comfort and familiarity. And I think we have to retrain our brain that that is not necessarily a scary thing. And like every podcast I've listened to in the past like 6 months is being able to step into the unknown without fear. And that is really what shakes people's nervous system up is I don't know what to expect. This isn't familiar. How do I navigate this? And reminding yourself you're safe, like nothing bad's going to happen. You know, worst case scenario, you might not be able to go back in the same way, but you can always go do whatever you did again. You could reach out to a friend again if they fell off.
You won't want to, though.
You won't want to, but you can. And I think that is the safety net maybe you need at first, is just knowing like nothing's disappearing in like the 3D, but in the 5D, it's not there anymore. So this is just the like illusion of safety for you.
And a point that you made about, you know, things being so different and being so unknown, you know, I forget a lot of times that part of my journey was unlocking these gifts and not knowing what to do with them. I felt like I was in like Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something. Like all of a sudden I like was opening these gifts and I didn't know what to do. And I went to someone else that Beth and I have both worked with as a mentor, Yolandi, who is like unbelievable.
Yes, amazing.
I went to her and I was like, I don't know anyone else who does light language in this way where they like speak light language and speak English. I don't know anybody that like does this stuff. I was like doing Kundalini and all of a sudden I would be in somebody's past life. Like I felt like I was going crazy. Like I was like, I never wanted to do past life work. I never wanted to channel. These were not things that I was working on. They were just happening. And I'm so grateful for that. But like I had to go to a mentor to be like, what is happening to me and how do I utilize these gifts? How do I hone them? How do I work with them? And so I do recommend also like, you know, going to see someone like you, Beth, or like me, or like, you know, we'll tag the people that have been helpful to us, like Yolandi, but like going to a mentor and working with somebody who's been through it.
Oh, yes. And, you know, and there are different people for different things. And like, again, like going in, you might feel like it's saturated. What am I going to offer? But they help you to like hone what's unique about you, you know, because like we said last time, like, I don't want to be someone who's like, here's your grandfather coming through and that's it. Like, I want to help people get through something. I want to give action items. Like I want to use my gifts in every way, you know, and I want to be truly who I am for people. And that's not going to look like someone else. You know, I felt crazy too. And I was just like, I just didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with it. And I think that's also like the scary part. But I think to your point, like Yolandi was
Yeah.
amazing. So I highly
Yeah,
recommend
I
her
didn't
too.
yeah, you don't know what to do with it. That's the whole thing. And like, I was doing the Kundalini activations when those things were opening up, but that wasn't my intention. Like again, like I never had intention to
Mm-hmm.
do past lives, and I don't do past life regressions. But past lives always come up when I'm working on somebody with Kundalini. Akashic record stuff
Same.
comes up. Yeah, your pat like, and these things come up, sometimes people do come through. And I think the one thing that like always sticks out to me that Yolandi taught me is that a lot of people try to niche out, right? They try to be like, I'm a medium. I
Mm-hmm.
just read the Akasha records. I do past lives. But the thing is, it's all energy. So when you start tapping into the energy,
Mm-hmm.
once you start being able to be someone who dances among the realms, right? We're talking about in between the realms. Once you're somebody who can do that, you can tap into any energy. And some things you will
Yeah.
have more of a resonance with or relationship with. Like I pull very much from the celestial realms. Like I am very much
Mm-hmm.
right. I bring in a lot of cosmic energy. Some people bring in more goddess energy. Like there's different things, right? But once you tap into
Mm-hmm.
that overall light energy, anything can come through. So you don't have to niche. You can just allow things to come in.
Right. Right. And I think I've always avoided the niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember when I was starting my practice, people were like, well, what's your niche? I'm like, therapy. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, people are going to come to me who are aligned. And it's the same thing now. Like, I'm not going to pigeonhole myself to say I do this. I never thought I could see past lives. And I think it came with you. Like, I was just like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
happened. And I didn't know I could do
Yeah.
that. I'm sure something else is going to come when I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure something already is there that I didn't even know was a gift. Right. And just to reiterate again, like, it doesn't mean you have to do something in a spiritual business. It can be used in any
Mm-hmm.
capacity. Maybe it's just creation and creating these different apps or
Mm-hmm.
innovation in some way. But it's that gift, that spiritual gift that allows you to do it and opening up in that
Mm-hmm.
way. So don't feel like I have this gift, I have to do it in this like spiritual
Yeah.
field.
And some people are just here to bring the light. My husband is one of those people.
Right.
He works in advertising, but when I did, Kundalini with him and past life stuff with him, like it was very clear that he's just someone who brings that light energy. He doesn't need to read anything. He doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
read people's energy. He
No.
doesn't have to do that. He's still a light worker. He's still a light being, but
Right.
all he has to do is
Right.
follow his joy. And there are some people who are just here. And when I do my light worker archetypes that came through to me from the Palladians, like that's what we call the light bearer. Those who are just here
Mm-hmm.
to follow their passion, follow their excitement, and bring the light and use their gifts that way. And it's incredible. I wish that was my thing. It's not my thing. I have more to do. I have to
Right.
work, but like do other stuff. But
Right.
like you don't have to do anything unless you want to.
And also, like, it doesn't mean, like, Rob was a good example. He's here to bring light, but it didn't mean that spiritual work didn't help him. Like, he felt very stuck, and you're like, go to Beth,
Mm-hmm.
like, because you did your stuff, and that opened him somewhat. And then I came in to kind of complement that, and it broke through something. It was like he had a block and probably a past life and ancestral stuff that we unblocked, and like I think it was pretty quick after that we saw like a difference.
Between going to the both of us, like, and I mean, like I don't know, actually I don't know if I think he went to you first and learned that there was a wall. He had
Okay.
like a wall like
Right.
around him, like a big stone wall.
Three.
Yeah, he had several
And
walls. Yeah, and
fences.
fences
Yeah.
around him. And like that's the way that you and I work in tandem a lot, is like you'll be like, I saw X,
Right.
Y, and Z. Now you help them like clear it. And so
Right.
then I went in with him and I was like, okay, we're gonna break down the walls that Beth saw. Like you were like able to identify like all the places where there were blocks. And I was like, let's break them down. And it was such an intense session that like I was hysterical crying. He had tears in his eyes. Like it was so like we went on this like journey together. I don't even know what I was saying. I was speaking in an accent, but beyond the light language. I was like, Robert. Like I was like, where is this coming from? Like ridiculous, like channeled stuff. And after working in tandem with me and Beth, like 2 weeks later, he got a job. And mind you, he had been trying to change careers and get a new job for 10 years. The time that we've been together, he has been working towards that. 2 weeks. He gets his new job.
I remember seeing like 6 moons, and I was like, that's when it's gonna be full time, right? And I think it was like to the day.
Almost. And now he's like working
you know?
full time in an agency, like in the city, like an amazing agency doing exactly what he loves. And that was part of his journey. Like, I don't know if it would have accelerated or sped up in that way. I think maybe he eventually would have got there, but like not that fast. And, so that's where the energy work, the spiritual work comes in, is like identifying where there's a block, where you're being held back, and then being able to clear that. And so you can move forward.
And I think, and to Rob's credit, like he has to be open in order for that to work. Like you can't go to someone, not be open, be really skeptical and think it's going to do anything. You have to believe. You have to believe that there is something that you're going to have an open mind to things. Like I wish I could do that with my wife. I got like all this stuff coming. She's like, all of a sudden you're talking to dead people and doing readings. Like, how am I supposed to feel about that? And I'm like, I kind of get it. Like it like happened one day, but like my best friend came over like a few weeks ago and she's like, do you do readings for Lauren? And I'm like, no. And she's like, why? I'm like, she's too skeptical. She's not open enough, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just like me doing anything for her. She's not open. Like, and I can feel when someone's open, and I can feel when someone has like, talk about a wall, and it's for protection. And there's also people who are here on a vacation life. I truly believe she might be one of those people. And that's fine. It's not a judgment of her. That's just her path. Right. And I don't need her to believe it, or listen, she supports me and she sees things that happen and she can't deny it. But I don't think for herself, she's in a place, or maybe just not yet, that she's open to that kind of help in whatever. And she'll never be in a spiritual business. She's super intuitive. And I don't think she gives herself enough credit for that. But she's not here trying to be a psychic or medium.
Yeah, but like, like we've talked about this before, and people always bring up my relationship with Rob, like all the time. Like I just literally got off a call with one of my girlfriends who was like, you're so lucky you've changed so much and that he's okay with it, And my and the whole thing is like, I'm so grateful for that. But it is that neither one of us, you or I, have the expectation that they need to come along for the journey. I think where people really struggle is they're going through an awakening and they expect that person to do it too. And that's just not that's not the journey. And, again, I'm going to bring up Yolandi. This is a big Yolandi episode. So maybe we'll have to have her on sometime. She's so amazing.
Yes, definitely.
But she said to me years ago that like somebody has to be grounded in the relationship. So like you're going through the awakening. If I didn't have him, I would be floating in the ethers and nobody would bring me down to earth. None of our bills would get paid. I mean, I'm bad enough with it as it is. Like he has to like remind me to pay, because I don't like to do things in the 3D. Because I'm like, I'm not there. Like to me, it's like worthless. I'm like, human stuff. I don't need to do human stuff. Like pay my credit card bill. And he's like, you need to fucking pay your car bill. So, like it's, you don't have to both be on an awakening. We should do a whole episode on relationships and stuff, because I think that that's key. But I think like, to kind of,
and just like, oh, sorry. But I just want to say, like, sometimes during an awakening, you will realize that you are misaligned. And sometimes a person is doing work slower and they have to catch up. Sometimes you just realize, it's not right anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. And we both have a girlfriend who also just went through that, who like has been on this like timeline of ascension and like rising up, and then realizing that their partner, they no longer feel the same towards their partner because their partner hasn't been on the same journey. So that does happen. And then you realize like, we're not going in the same way, and maybe they'll do the work to rise and meet you where you are, right? But like they're not on the same path, the same timing.
Or you were a different version of yourself where the vibration matched and the frequency matched, and you've changed and you're no longer that person, and they don't have any they don't want to change. And it's just like a mismatch now. And that's totally fine too. It doesn't make someone a bad person. It just means you're not right for each other.
Yeah. And again, like, you can bring, it's your journey. And I think that's the important thing, right? Like butterflies do this by themselves. So the metamorphosis is yours and yours alone. And that can be super lonely. And where you find your tribe, your people, your support is by others who are going through these things, right? Like other people who are on the journey. You can't expect the people in your life to be on it. And if they do accept it and they do understand, like we're very, very lucky that our significant others let us be who we are and let us go through all of this stuff.
Right. And that's one thing that I realized during like my spiritual growth and awakening is that I have to be myself. Like there is no part of me that can be fake. And like that is just something wherever I show up, like I am me. If I start people pleasing or acting not like myself, it's not meant for me. And that was also like a thing for Lauren. It's like, I think she's always accepted me for who I am, but like I've changed. I've had a lot of versions of myself through our relationship, and she certainly has had to get used to each one, but she also decided I want to come along for the ride, and that's where her vibration raised, right? So I think like just, you're going to go through a dark night of soul, probably. You're going to have growing pains. You're going to let go of some things that just have to fall to the wayside because they don't match anymore. It could be friends. It could be jobs. It could be family members sometimes. It could be how you look and dress and like what's not authentically you. And it can happen over and over, and it's not always going to be an action. It's not always doing the work. There could be times where it feels just like, cool, I'm coasting, right? And the level up can be really hard and frustration can come in, but there's so much beauty on the other side of it.
So much beauty, and you do get somewhere. And we're here to show you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And, and you're not alone, and you are going somewhere, whether you feel it or not, right? You are getting somewhere. So, my piece of advice is just keep going, just keep doing you, do the things that bring you joy, and you're going to get where you're trying to go.
Yeah. Every day wake up and it's a new day. And yesterday might have sucked. This whole week, month could have sucked. But tomorrow could be different.
Yeah, we changed your vibe during this anyway. And Beth's now going to go do this money vibration thing because I'm telling you.
Totally.
And everyone should try it. Right. Try it. Tune into the energy of money. That's my last piece of advice.
Well, I just saw this like gold pyramid when you were talking about it. And then you talked about like the vibration or frequency of gold. I'm like, that's what I have to picture.
Yeah. Whatever comes, whatever you feel from it. And then step into it and allow it to like come around your body and like be in it. That's also how I tune into Kundalini energy. Just like quick side note, like I feel it come in like a stream, and then I like step into the stream and tune into the energy.
You need to do meditations for people and like put them on there because yours are great.
Thank you. I'm thinking about doing a library, like a portal for people to come on and have transmissions and meditation. So if everybody wants me to do that, I'll do it. Coming soon.
I'm telling you, you need to do
coming
this.
soon. Coming soon. I will do that. But yeah, that's the vibe. So, you're not alone. And honestly, like, follow along with us. We're on the journey with you. The people that are listening, the people that are on our social media are on the journey with you. And so, comment, hang out, like, let's do this together.
Yeah, and if you want to book a session with either of us, go to Nishama Divine Guidance for me and Amanda Nova Wellness for Amanda, and we'd be happy to work with you. And thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.